Did they have the Exorcist trailer?
Yeah, they did. It's a terrible trailer. It's a
Oh
terrible trailer.
man.
I am so disappointed in like they do what they need to do at the end of the trailer to try and get you excited.
No,
But
no, no,
here's the
no.
thing. Here's the thing.
No.
You know
I
who the
don't know what the
filmmaker is,
fuck's
right?
going on over there.
No,
Yes,
but
I
like
do know, and I can't
I
believe it's a
I don't
trilogy.
want to get his name wrong. It's like David Gordon Green or something like
Yes,
that,
it is
right?
that. And he's
And
just a trilogy kind of guy
the
because
guy
you
who made
can't.
like the Halloween films, yeah.
One film. It could have been all
But
one
he's
film.
also the like like creative partner of Danny McBride, right? Like they work together all the time. Like he comes from a comedy place too. Like he does a lot of comedy. And like while you're watching,
Which I remember loving The Exorcist 4 originally was just
yeah, with comedy. But when you're watching the opening of that trailer, it's just like it's straight up like sitcom directing. It's like
yeah.
it's just like it looks like it's funny, and that's the problem
It
with
looks
how
like CSI Exorcism. Like it looks like it looks so bad, and they do all of the awful sound effects to make it sound like a demon. Like it's all just cliche.
he's trying to make like a self-referential slasher film, like Scream without being Scream, with like taking itself more seriously,
No.
and it's just not
Well,
working.
it's not advertising it like that. It looks like he's trying to.
No, they advertise it as a straight up horror film.
Well, I think they're trying to cash in on the kind of like true crime explosion, and it looks like it's going through. The Exorcist is going through the lens of a true crime kind of movie. We just found these people. They were gone 3 days in the forest, and something happened over there. So we got to.
Well, I mean, William Friedkin did just die, so I guess maybe we should talk
I
about.
think you know what I had a theory that
I hope he didn't see
saw
that
the film and it killed him. On a scale of 1 to 10, how loud was it?
I mean, it was probably a 10.
8, 7, 6, 5.
So what you're saying is it could not be louder.
Yeah, I don't think the theater could probably get louder. No.
Isn't that kind of troubling? Because I would say the same. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Take Two Plus, the only podcast on the internet with a special sponsor, Little Stinker's birthday balloon case. We'll get into that later, but today we are talking about Oppenheimer.
Are we going to go on the Oppenheimer hero's journey? Is that what we're going to do now?
Right.
Oh, okay. Because the first stage is the ordinary world, the ordinary world of Oppenheimer.
What are you?
Now, you having just seen the movie about 4 hours ago.
This is brutal. Right. What are you talking about? Get to it. Yep. Not a lot of time.
We're going to go through the stages of the hero's journey for Oppenheimer. Well,
yes.
And we're going to begin with the ordinary world. The ordinary world of Oppenheimer is, of course, getting to see him grow into adulthood during like his later adolescent years that the movie starts off with, like after the book-ending device of him and that conversation with Albert Einstein.
Yes.
We go into the actual, like, the movie does cut back and forth in time also between that and the sequence of Robert Downey Jr. in the future in like the 60s, I think it is, or maybe the mid 50s, when when Oppenheimer is having his credentials revoked, basically.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Which is, as we learn, a political.
That's just kind of Nolan's thing, though. Like Nolan likes to do that he likes to experiment with audio constantly in all of his films. Like that's one of his favorite things to mess around with. And I think in this film, sometimes he has like no problem even making things completely inaudible. But in this film, you're right. I think what he's done here is he's taken the moments that you expect things to be extremely loud, and he almost makes it quieter than you think they would be. Okay. But the moments that are supposed to be quiet do come across as almost violently loud at times. Yeah. Usually his own internal thoughts, and that's during the first act of the film.
Yes.
And the next stage is the call to adventure. So in this film, I think the call to adventure kind of happens in the sequence when he poisons the apple of his teacher, and then Niels Bohr shows up.
No, the call to action is to make the bomb.
Well, it's not though. In this point, it's a call to action.
The action is to win the war. The call of action is to participate at Los
You're forgetting
Alamos.
what's this movie called? Is it called Make the Bomb or Win the War? It's about Oppenheimer's story, and his call to action is when Niels Bohr shows up and says, you really need to be in Europe learning these techniques much more advanced techniques than you are learning here in America. Remember when he meets Heisenberg?
Yes, exactly.
But he's going to be a Nazi eventually, right? Like these two eventually don't get along. But
yeah, what is it? Like
refusal of the call, like
early 30s.
Yeah, so the refusal of the call is like, and even from the beginning, I remember the movie kind of gives you the sense that Oppenheimer doesn't really like this guy from the beginning. Like he doesn't quite trust him or something. He gets like a bad feeling from him, right? So that part, when they end up replicating the results of the splitting of the atom, that's the end of like the first act part. That's the crossing the threshold. Once they've actually mastered the art of splitting the atom and they're going to be able to start making the bomb, that's them entering the special world. That's once they're actually being able to create. That's what it is, man. That's
Los
once
Alamos is the special world show.
Yeah, well, yes, physically the Los Alamos, and that's when they go to Los Alamos. Los Alamos is the physical manifestation of the special world.
All right,
yeah.
But let's when we say special world, we should be referring to something.
That's the phrase they use in storytelling. All right, but anyway, and the with the mentor sequence, which takes place before the crossing of the first threshold, is when
mentor
they get
sequence is Albert Einstein.
Now, again, we have to figure out what is the cave in this film. What is the central ordeal? Now, of course, the central ordeal of this film is the testing the bomb, right? It's the actual test of the nuclear weapon. So approaching that sequence, approaching the cave, is realizing that Germany has already surrendered. And then they have that entire section of trying to decide if they can get this bomb ready in time in order to try and bring the war with Japan to a much more expedient close. So that section is the approach to the innermost cave. And then the ordeal section is like the central piece of the film, which is, of course, the actual testing of the nuclear device. What did you think about that sequence? Did it live up to your expectations, or was it? I know you've never seen Twin Peaks, but there's this episode in season 3 that came out in 2016 where, for whatever reason, David Lynch goes like literally into an atom bomb explosion. Like it's the same thing. It's the testing of the nuclear bomb. He flashes back to the 1940s, and it's the Los Alamos test. And he literally and it's like, honestly, to this day, it's still one of those sequences in filmmaking that I think of the most. Like it's such an amazing sequence. So when this movie came out, it's all I could think about. And it's all I could really compare it to. And this movie is completely different to that. But part of me is convinced that Nolan saw that sequence and is like, I need to make an entire movie about this. So moving on to the next stage is the reward. It's the reward stage. Yeah, it's your favorite stage.
Public recognition.
What do you think the reward part of this film is? Yeah, you're right. The public recognition. Everyone is just so happy at what they've accomplished. Like they did it. They ended the war. The road back, which is the next stage, begins kind of when there's literally that sequence where they show up and they just take it from him, right? And he's just watching it go.
Take what from him?
The bomb.
Take what from who?
They take the bomb from Oppenheimer after they test it. And they realize that it's going to work. They show up and they take one. They show it. It's like wrapped up in a box.
Oh yeah. No, he's no longer the pretty girl at the dance. He's
standing there watching it. So that's the beginning of the third act on. And once that's court drama for the next hour, and it's like the entire sequence is like the resurrection of this, of his, I would say of his morality. Right. There's been multiple times when Oppenheimer's embarrassed this guy, and the guy was just like, I'm gonna
old boy, where it's like you realize the hurtful nature of the words and the quiet revenge being.
But unlike old boy, Oppenheimer kind of just takes it, right? And that's what his wife asks him at the end. She's like, why are you being such a martyr? Like, why are you letting yourself become a martyr for this? And he realized, and then he tells, like, she says, like,
what's Oppenheimer to do, really?
Well, she says, like, people aren't going to realize the truth. And he says, we'll see.
The truth
and like, that's when the truth about what really happened here, with like how you were like done wrong by this by the Strauss guy, and how everything has just been like you've been misused here, you've been mistreated.
Whatever. Anyways, what stage now do we have to get to?
The only stage we have left is the Elixir stage, the return of the Elixir. When his wife questions him on why he's like just so meekly taken all of this, like he suggests that he's doing it because history will prove him to have been right. And that's what this entire movie's about. When you think about it, this entire movie is about proving that he was right.
No, like, but when you say that, you're referring to
the witch
not
hunt.
to pursue the hydrogen bomb.
No, like the last hour of the film, like the using him as like a scapegoat, like, and demonizing him and villainizing him
as being responsible for it leaking to Russia.
And like destroying his career, like it just like not just like they're not just talking about him being like the leak to Russia. I mean, they're kind of not even outwardly accusing him of that, right? They're kind of suggesting that maybe he might have, but they're really all they're doing is making it so that he won't ever be able to work again, or he won't ever be respected, or like they're like there's
they're attacking him because of the military-industrial complex. And they need to be making more to expand on Los Alamos, not tear it down. And it's the industry that's created, and that's a chain reaction as well, is the military-industrial complex, because now you have to keep making wars. And this is a minor point in the film during Eisenhower. I don't think he does his famous address, but yeah, this idea of chain reactions, and there are a lot of chain reactions. I'm going to make Oppenheimer.
Thinking about it now, the other thing the Elixir could be in this film is just that little bit of information that Einstein says to Oppenheimer at the very end of the film, which is basically just like that we've destroyed the world, probably, right? Like, what is it exactly he says to him again? Like, I can't remember it.
Well, I think one of the big things is this near zero probability of the entire world being destroyed, and them going with it. And then it's like, like this is the threshold now that you're playing with the entire Earth. Yeah, you're
but
right.
but what does Einstein actually say to him? Because at the end of the film, like, he whispers something to him, right? That's the entire, like, it's the Nolan trope of like, there's always one little mystery at the end of the film that, like, so the audience is like, what is it? What's it gonna be? And then there's like, they've been building to it. They keep showing like Einstein whispered something to him, and and Strauss, he didn't whisper, but he says something.
Strauss
to him,
was
Strauss thinks it's about him.
Yes,
but it's not about him. It's just about how they're going to be, how they could have potentially destroyed the world, right? Like, it's basically
it's like something that's a profound and unsettling thing to think about.
And it leaves Oppenheimer staring at the raindrops. Yeah. But just how it starts the movie. And actually, I read online that the movie, like, Nolan was really influenced by The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. And the beginning and end of that film begins with, that poem begins with raindrops, and the protagonist looking at raindrops, and the beginning and end of this movie ends with like raindrops, which is kind of cool. How many dirty Tarantino how many dirty Tarantino toes, Chris, would you give Oppenheimer?
Yes, I would give Oppenheimer a 9 dirty Tarantino toes out of the possible 10 dirty Tarantino toes. Sean, you saw Oppenheimer as well. We have a beautiful woman here with 10 dirty Tarantino toes. How many of those toes will remain?
9 of them. 9 dirty Tarantino
toes. So only one will be cut off. Excellent.
I don't know what the next movie will be, but we'll figure it out soon. Maybe it'll be Talk to Me.
Well, let's see, because we may be doing the same movie more than once, Sean, because of technical problems that seem to be beyond our control.
Did the other one record? Did it transfer when you ended it?
Were we supposed to record?
You're so fucking funny. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, that's pretty good.